Imagine a room, 4 concrete walls, no window, no light. You are in solitary confinement. You haven't spoken to another human being in 70, 100, 200 days. Your captor's goal is not just to break your body, it's to break your mind, to make you believe you are utterly and completely alone, that you are the only one left, that you have been forgotten by God and country. And then you hear it, a noise. Tap, tap, tap. It's not random. It's coming from the wall. It's a language. It's the sound of another American. And he's talking to you. This is the story of the one thing that kept hundreds of American POWs alive in the most brutal prison on Earth. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a key. It was a simple, secret language. This is the story of the Hanoi Hilton tap code.
From 1964 to 1973, hundreds of American pilots were shot down over North Vietnam. When they parachuted into enemy territory, they were captured and sent to a brutal fortress in the heart of the city, Hỏa Lò Prison. The Vietnamese called it Hỏa Lò, or fiery furnace. The Americans who were trapped inside gave it a different, more sarcastic name. They called it the Hanoi Hilton. It was a place of disease, malnutrition, and relentless psychological warfare. New prisoners were taken to a block called New Guy Village for initial interrogation. Then they were moved to Heartbreak Hotel, a block of solitary confinement cells. The goal of the North Vietnamese was simple: isolation. They had a strict no communication policy. Prisoners were not allowed to talk, gesture, or even make eye contact with each other.
The punishment for breaking this rule was immediate and severe. Prisoners were beaten, starved, or forced into agonizing stress positions for days, like the rope trick, which dislocated their shoulders and cut off circulation. The Vietnamese knew that a soldier alone is a soldier who breaks. If they could keep the men isolated, they could break the chain of command, shatter morale, and force them to sign confessions for propaganda.
But they underestimated the one thing they couldn't control. In June of 1965, 4 POWs were captured and placed in solitary cells next to each other at Heartbreak Hotel. One of them was Air Force Captain Carlyle Smitty Harris. Harris had been trained in an old, simple code during survival school, a code so basic it was almost forgotten. He pressed his ear to the wall and listened. He heard nothing. He decided to take a chance. He tapped on the wall, using a simple shave and a haircut rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. He waited. A few moments later, a faint reply came back. Tap, tap. He had a neighbor. His name was Bob Craner. The connection was made.
The system Harris remembered was a 5x5 grid, a polybius square. It's an ancient code, simple and brilliant. You lay out the alphabet in a grid. The first row is A, B, C, D, E. The second is F, G, H, I, J. Because K is redundant, it's combined with C. The third row, L, M, N, O, P, and so on. To send a letter, you tap twice. The first set of taps for the row, the second for the column. Want to say hi? For H, you tap twice for row 2. Pause, then 3 times for column 3. Tap, 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 tap. For I, you tap twice, row 2. Pause, then 4 times for column 4. Tap, 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 tap. It was slow. It was tedious. It was like trying to write a novel by blinking. But it was their language. Smitty Harris slowly, carefully, tapped the entire grid and its instructions to Bob Craner. Craner, in turn, taught it to the man on the other side of his cell, and that man taught it to the next. Like a virus of hope, the code spread through the entire prison, and the POWs adapted. The guards were listening for taps, so the prisoners stopped just tapping. They coughed the code. Cough, cough, cough. They sneezed it. They swept their brooms on the stone floor inaudibly. Swish, swish, swish. They whistled it. They tapped it on their own metal buckets. When a new prisoner arrived, he would be terrified and alone. Then, from the wall, a tap, 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 W-H-O. Who are you? The new POW would be taught the code and would tap back his name. The first and most important question a new prisoner would be asked was, do you know the code?
The code rebuilt the chain of command. Senior officers like James Stockdale used it to issue orders, resist the torture, admit to nothing but the basics, do not bow, stay strong. They used it to share intelligence, New arrivals would tap out what they knew about the war, what was happening back home, even the results of the Super Bowl. But most importantly, the tap code was a lifeline for the soul. It broke the isolation. A man slipping into despair, alone in the dark, would tap GBU on the wall. God bless you. And from the darkness, a faint tap tap, tap tap tap, tap 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 would return. HI. Just hi. Just knowing someone else was there. Someone else was still fighting. It was everything. It was the difference between sanity and madness. They told jokes. They recited poetry. One man, an architect, tapped out the entire blueprints for the house he would build when he got home. Another taught a full college course on European history. They shared their life stories, their fears, their hopes, all through taps on a concrete wall.
The North Vietnamese knew the Americans were communicating, but they couldn't figure out how. They would randomly burst into cells, beating prisoners for tapping, even if they were innocent. The code itself became a new battleground, a new form of resistance, and the penalty for using it was brutal. In 1966, the Vietnamese decided to use the POWs for a propaganda victory. They pulled a Navy commander named Jeremiah Denton from his cell and put him in front of a Japanese television camera. They blinded him with hot lights and demanded he say the war was unjust, that he was treated well. Denton knew this was his only chance to communicate with the outside world. He played the part of the broken prisoner. He said what they wanted. But as he spoke, he blinked his eyes. He was blinking, erratically, almost spastically, but it wasn't random. Blink, blink, blink. Blink, blink, blink. Blink, 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 blink. He was blinking in Morse code, and he was spelling out a single word. T-O-R-T-U-R-E. It was the first time U.S. intelligence had absolute confirmation of the torture. When Denton was returned to his cell, he was beaten for not cooperating. But he had won. He had used a hidden language to send a message the entire world needed to hear. The Denton incident made the Vietnamese furious. They cracked down. They initiated a purge, moving prisoners, separating the leaders, trying to break the communication network. Men were tortured for months, ordered to confess the names of the leaders and the details of the code. But the POWs held. The code had become more than a tool. It was a symbol of their resistance, their identity. They would endure the torture to protect it. The Vietnamese could control their bodies, but they could not control their minds, and they could not stop the tap. The code, impossibly, survived. For years, this code was their entire world. And then, in 1973, after the Paris Peace Accords, the war ended. Operation Homecoming began. The POWs were going home. There's a famous story from the release. A bus was loaded with these newly freed men who had been neighbors in the dark for 6, 7, 8 years. They were being driven to the airfield, and the bus was almost silent. The men were still conditioned by years of forced silence. Then, one man, overcome with emotion, reached out and tapped the shoulder of the man in front of him. Tap, 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 G. Tap, 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 D. G, D. God. Then he smiled, and he spoke the last word, his voice cracking. God, we're out. When they finally boarded the C-141 transport plane, they met each other face to face, in the light, for the very first time. Men who had shared their deepest secrets, who had saved each other's lives, who had been brothers in the dark for years, and had never seen each other's faces.
The bond they formed through those concrete walls was unbreakable. Senator John McCain, who was held for 5.5 years, later said, "The tap code was the rope that pulled us all out of the darkness. It was our lifeline. It was the way we maintained our sanity and our sense of community. It wasn't just a communication tool. It was a statement. It said, you can break my body, you can put me in chains, you can build a wall, but you cannot break my spirit, and you cannot stop me from talking to my brothers." It was the ultimate act of defiance.
The Hanoi Hilton tap code is one of the most incredible and most powerful stories of survival in modern history. It proves that even in the darkest, most isolated conditions, the human need to connect, to organize, and to resist will always find a way. You can build a prison, but you cannot imprison the human spirit.
What do you think is the most powerful tool a prisoner has? Their ingenuity, like the cigarette compass, or their will to connect, like the tap code? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this story of survival and resistance as incredible as we did, hit that like button
And be sure to subscribe to Prisoner of War for more untold stories from behind the wire. Thank you for watching.